Hello and welcome to First Geek 411 Book Club. Tonight we are going to be chatting Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins. But before we get into that, remember you can find us at all the social medias as One Geek 411. Join our Discord server or shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. Watch live on our Twitch every Monday night at 6:45 Mountain Time and find all our videos over on YouTube. You can also check out some sweet merch at our Redbubble store. I'm Shanine, and I don't have my book because I had to return it to the library 2 weeks ago. Um, with me, I have Emma
Hi.
and Cameron.
Hello, everyone. We're doing more stuff with the overlay. We are where we are. um,
It is what it is.
Did we have a last minute panic? Yes. We landed on where we are. Did I also forget to mic check us? Yes, 100%. So we're doing our best. I literally just got back from being out of town for 4 days too. So we're coming in hot. I was home for 2 hours before we started this. So
Yep.
we're doing our best.
All right, well, let's get into it. So it is the 50th Hunger Games, and for the second Quarter Quell, double the amount of tributes are being reaped from the districts. Haymitch is falsely chosen to be a tribute when he gets caught up in some Reaping Day violence. He is taken to the capital with Wyatt, whose family is known to take bets on the tributes, Maisie, a twin daughter of a wealthy family, and Luella, a young girl and friend of Haymitch. Haymitch originally only wants to form an alliance with Luella, but everything changes when she is killed in a carriage accident in the tribute parade and replaced with a tortured capital puppet. Haymitch allies with the rest of his district and several other districts to try to take down the arena from the inside and stop the games. Give me a 3-word review of Sunrise on the Reaping.
How dare they?
We're so back. Also, what's up, Locke?
Sad. Throwbacks. Sad.
It starts sad, ends sad, and there's a whole lot of book in the middle.
Everything is sad. How dare they? But also, heck yeah.
All right. What is everyone's past experience with the Hunger Games series? Have you read all of them so far?
That was my jam when I was a teenager. I loved it. I was in high school during the peak of the Hunger Games craze, and I was part of it, and it is still my jam. Nothing has changed.
Yeah. I was not reading them as they came out or anything, but I think after the first movie, I went and read Hunger Games, and then after Catching Fire, right before Catching Fire, I read that one. And then I read Mockingjay in my first apartment in Connecticut when I didn't have internet. I hadn't gotten it set up yet. I had just moved in, and that's what I was reading as my entertainment. And then have done, then Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, and then, seen all the movies. I told this story, I think, on regular podcast. I feel like we get Hunger Games so sporadically that I don't really think of it being a fandom of mine. And then every time one comes out, I'm just like, let's go. I'm so excited, and they're so good every time. And this book kind of was just that's my experience, as I love this franchise.
Yeah.
Let's go.
It's so good. So good.
For me, the full book trilogy was out by the time that I started reading them. and I loved them. I was obsessed with them at the time. I don't think I saw all the movies in theater, but I definitely went to see the last one in theater for sure. Um, and yeah, I read Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I did not love that one as much, but it was very interesting to see kind of the games more in their infancy and like
Mm-hmm.
how they became what they are in the Hunger Games.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then Sunrise on the Reaping, obviously another prequel. What are your thoughts on Haymitch and getting to see him as a young man and pre-traumatized, as pre-traumatized as you can be living in the districts in a world where there's Hunger Games every year?
It was great, especially, I mean, the Haymitch, as we're initially introduced to him in the Hunger Games, the main trilogy, is already a bit of an icon for better or for worse. Um, Mostly encouraging behaviors that should not be encouraged. Um, but now
Mostly.
getting mostly um now getting to see like all of the reasons why, like it makes sense that he is the way he is in the trilogy. I mean, it made sense in the trilogy that he was the way he was. Like, yeah, okay, like he went through the Hunger Games, you won. It wasn't great, whatever. But now it's like, oh yeah, like you really got the short straw out of the stack there, even though you won. Um, and it was heartbreaking and great, and just makes me love the guy even more.
Yeah. I think in a lot of ways this, and even for Ballad, I feel like these feel like prequels done right.
Yeah.
Like these are prequels that tell interesting stories and are interesting takes on the established world in a way that like I feel like a lot of prequels struggle with the gangs all here, or here's how everything important to this person happened in this one week, or like that kind of stuff. Whereas for this, like we do see, obviously it is very focused in on how the events of this Hunger Games influence him when we see him 25 years later. But I think it's really interesting that it's like there are so many like teases. Like Haymitch during Katniss's day has a drinking problem, and here we find him as a bootlegger. Like just things like that that are like this is not something that is, he doesn't become a bootlegger during this book so that that can set things up later. It's like an established part of his character going in, which I really like, and I think that that's a cool way of like teasing the future of where the character is going to be for those of us that already knew. Um, and then I really liked um, the stereotypical theme of "May the odds be ever in your favor." I really liked seeing that here with Haymitch as just the unluckiest person, and like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that's him ruining it for himself, but
Yep.
like so much of the stuff that happens is just like, man, the odds were not in this guy's favor, and it
And
just
somehow
stacked
he
up.
survived.
Like, yeah, but then it's even like again, like are the odds in his is surviving even what's like with what he's been through. Like, is that even necessarily where he wants to be? But then like we see how like as much as he doesn't like those things, that's such a core part of the themes of this book is the like making it and the long con against the capital. And it's just like, man,
Yeah.
like how do we get like man, that trauma gets him there, but at what cost?
this, okay, I just want to stick something onto that because it ties in. One of the things I've been seen talked about with this book specifically is that he says that he wants to be the last name ever called for the Hunger Games. Like, he wants his name to be the last one reaped for the Hunger Games. And people pointed out that in the third Hunger Games book, in the very last of the trilogy, his name is the last one to ever be called for the Hunger Games before Katniss shuts it down. So even though it took 25 years for that to happen, it still happened.
That's really cool.
He said, I want to have my name be the last one to ever happen or be called. It didn't happen during the 50th, but it did happen 25 years later. And I think that's really cool.
I'm gonna cry again.
Right.
I love Haymitch in the original series. Like, give me a sassy, broody guy with the secret heart of gold. Like, duh, obviously. I don't know. He was so different as a young person than I was expecting. Like, I was still expecting him to have like some of that like sharp humor and sassiness to him. He was just like so like sweet and soft as a young person, and I wasn't expecting it. And I don't know, it like didn't even feel like Haymitch in the beginning, which, like, yeah, just goes to show how much all that changed him. Yeah. Other than Haymitch, did you have any favorite characters or side characters?
I mean, Lulu did her best. Lulu did what she could for being a very terrible scenario overall and very much a capital move for the capital to do. But also, like, I do enjoy a little bit of a kooky person who's. It sounds awful, but like that her as a character being, replacing Luella, really drove a lot of it home for the continued horror of the Hunger Games. But I also just wanted to go in and save her because she was so cute and like she needed to be saved. But then also I'm forgetting her name because I finished this book like a month and a half ago. Effie's sister, who was in school and was basically just like had an internship to be hair and makeup for Haymitch. As basically just a mini me for Effie, who also shows up and is equally fabulous, even as a young adult. I I love both of them, and I have a feeling something horrible happens to Effie's sister, whose name I'm still blanking on. But I think
Proserpina
yeah.
is her name.
But she was fabulous and a great time, and her friend who she worked with, I thought they were great and like definitely a different take on whatever that who Effie is as a character and like the fashion and hair and makeup person within the role of the the Hunger Games. Like they were a great fit for that box of that type of character while also being their own takes on it, and it was fun. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, without getting into gestures broadly at references to the other stuff, um, I was really excited that we had Effie back. And so that was something. And again, kind of that same idea of getting to see young Haymitch, getting to see young Effie, I thought was really cool. And getting to see, for lack of a better way of saying it, the bright eyed, bushy tailed version of this character that, like, kind of through the book comes to see more and more of the problem and then has a part to play. And so I think that was a really cool way of, again, like setting up her character as someone that, like, I had not expected to see in this book. Like that was not a character that I was specifically like, oh, they're going to be here. Because in my head, Haymitch is way older.
yeah.
Like he's only like maybe like I guess he's 40 at the start of, because 24 years after this and he's 16, so he would be 40 when Katniss is reaped. But like in my head he's like 50, 60, 55, like he's in like that range. And so like Effie is a lot younger than him. But like that's not how this works. And so like I just had not anticipated her showing up. And so when she comes up on page the first time, I was like, wait, I had to Google. And I was like, this is the Kirsten I think this is, right? And like, yes, okay, let's go, I'm in. So I was so excited for that. And then so that was a big one for me. And then I mean, shout out to the other other people from District 12. And so I did really like our overall cast there.
Yeah. I was a big fan of Maisley. Like, I don't know. She's just like so strong. And I don't know, the scene on the train when they're going to the Capitol, when like she's being very spoiled and demanding, but even that was like a statement against the Capitol. She's just like, don't let them treat you like that. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? You're right.
It's a cool example of like fighting the Capitol looks different for everyone.
Yeah. Really does.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even how like what Haymitch was viewing as like just a silly like interest in jewelry, like super frivolous, especially in District 12, was something that she was able to use against the Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love
and
that.
sets up some of the major like stuff for later. Like her symbols are the ones that carry through. Like
the pins,
yeah.
the family stuff that's handed down.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Capitol and the characters from the Capitol? We have a lot of variation within our Capitol characters, going from like our villainous President Snow to other people like Effie and Plutarch, who are not as straightforward. Um, what are your thoughts?
I mean, there's definitely like, again, as you just said, it's not straightforward. There's the people you love to hate. There's the people that you love because they're easy to love and they have a change of character. So people like Effie, who are like, oh, this clearly is like not a great system. So we should fix that. And then there's just President Snow, who's his own guy, who's just like, I'm just gonna hate you no matter what because you're President Snow. And you're an evil, evil person. And it really does. I think one of the things that the Hunger Games does well is like it both brings to light the fact that even the real world is not perfect, but also the fact that life is not just black and white. Like characters like Effie can't help the fact that they were born into the capital lifestyle. What they can do is then use their status to like, you know, work the system from the inside and break it that way. And I think that is a great use of that space. The capital as a whole is still a terrible system and a terrible society. Honestly, like the capital is the 1%, but there is a chunk of the 1% that's like, I recognize that being part of the 1% is terrible, and I would like to fix that somehow. But it's still like you see a lot of, you know, what we were given in the initial trilogy of all these people, these rich, you know, fortunate people who get all of this plastic surgery or what have you to, you know, go absolutely outrageous with their fashion and are gonna see the Hunger Games as a holiday, so to say, because they're not threatened, and that's horrifying. Like the capital is still horrifying. Obviously, this happens 25 years before, so it's like it's still in the process of being horrifying or being fully horrifying. Whatever, it's a process. But I do love that the capital as a whole touches on the fact that not everyone is going to be as evil as, you know, President Snow, and some of those people do want to actually fix things. So
I like this a lot. I really like getting to see the villain arc of President Snow, where like here we have him as like a becoming an older man, but not like an old man yet, where he's more or less at like the height of his power as president. And I think that was really interesting to see. I liked getting to see the like, does he still care about Lucy Gray? Like, is that still like how much does this really bother him? And getting to like see that play out through the book, especially as like he like talks to Haymitch about like life in District 12, and like getting to kind of get that like, wait, how does he know all of this? What is going on? And I feel like that plays very well into like the mystique of President Snow being very like a super knowledgeable guy, but like he doesn't have that knowledge about everything. He just has like a couple weeks of firsthand knowledge with different District 12. And like I think that was such a or from what we know, like, but like I think that that's super interesting to see like that play out and how get to see it like mess with Haymitch's head so much. And it really plays into those themes of like the totalitarian state and like the capital is always watching, because like, well, how does he even know all of this? It's like, well, it's cool to see that, and like also see like the consequence of Lucy Gray not being remembered by District 12. Where if like Haymitch would have been aware of her more, like he probably would not have been thrown as much by that. And then already talked about Effie, but overall, I like the Capital cast here. I think that it's always interesting to see that side of things, and get to see the people from the Capital that are either seeing the games firsthand for the first time, or that are dealing with, like, is it Drusilla? That's the escort. We have the people that are also just like super bitter, super detached because of everything that they've seen. And so I always like that dynamic that we get with the Capital. And then again, young Plutarch, like he's starting his rebellion. Like again, it's a lot of smaller things at this point, but like he is starting his rebellion. Like, and that was very cool to see.
I think it is interesting to see, like, most of the Capital characters are not villains. They're mostly just ignorant. Um, like doing their best to live their life, and that's just normal life. Like, what are they gonna do about it? And then, yeah, seeing the opposite ends of the spectrum, I guess, as far as the Capital goes, would be like Snow and Plutarch, who are actually actively aware of what's going on and actively doing things to change things in their own direction. Um, and so, yes, what are your thoughts on the games themselves? I think it's very interesting getting that we got like the Hunger Games series first, and it's like this massive spectacle, and like everything is so fancy and just like way over the top, and like the tributes are, despite being sent to their deaths, like treated like celebrities and just like super pampered. And then seeing where it started in the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, where it's like, here, have this sack to put on.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck with sleeping on the floor. Um, and Sunrise is kind of like halfway in between those. Like, they're not the well-oiled machine that the Hunger Games is kind of just chaos in the background. But things are a little like not as rough in it pre the arena.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. I thought, I mean, it's definitely fun to be able to get to see the Hunger Games at all of these different stages of just how it's received and accepted by the Capitol, and how it's presented to the people throughout. And I thought that was super just interesting in general, because a lot of the things we hear is about just government in general and politics and the way they work, is that everything happens slowly. It doesn't just, you wake up one day and you've got, Katniss's first time going into the Hunger Games, and you don't just go from a normal society to that overnight. It's a very slow progress of that shift. So it was really interesting. I shouldn't say fun, because in reality it's terrifying. Um, but it's definitely interesting to have seen that shift. Um, and still with like Haymitch's time, his training center was in like a college gymnasium, so there
Mhm.
wasn't a dedicated building for his cohort and others to like actually go to and train. It was just like the people were like, we're gonna rent out a college university gym for
It's
your
basically
training
Spirit
sessions.
Halloween
Yeah,
of like
yeah, basically. And it's like you don't think about that kind of thing, but then when you're presented with it, you're like, oh, you know what? For this time period, it would make sense that they hadn't thought to build their own thing yet. Um, because there's still only like, I say only 50 years in, but 50 years is still a long time. Um, but they're just like, yeah, like this is like your state of living is slightly better, but you're still being shoved to what is essentially, you know, cattle cars and being taken to rented out spaces. Whereas with Katniss's, it was like you get the full, VIP treatment and your own very special training tower and all of this stuff to very much glamorize it, um, which is just as scary as kettle cars and rented out gyms. Um, but it does, I think it's interesting to see that all of that transpire of that shift from how it's treated in A Ballad of Songbirds to Katniss's time. So,
Mhm. Yeah, fully agree with both of y'all and what y'all have said. I think this kind of goes to what Shanine was saying. Something that I think is interesting is like when we see Ballad, like tributes are dying before they even get to the games. Like not just in like escape attempts, but like people are sick, people have infections, like they're literally just like at the zoo, like,
mm-hmm.
and the Capitol doesn't think twice about them not competing. But here we get to the point where, obviously for ulterior motives as well, but when like Luella dies and gets replaced with Lulu, like that's something that's a step that the Capitol takes for like the sanctity of the games. Of like, well, we can't show our incompetence now, even though like they don't have things under control, they don't have things figured out the same way that we'll see them 24 years later. And so I think that that's a really interesting thing it really like reiterated for me the idea of that this is like as much a like propaganda for the people of the capital as it is punishment for the districts. And I thought that was a really interesting like way of highlighting that and getting to see that through Haymitch's eyes. And yeah, like that I don't know, almost like lack of mystique, for lack of a better way of saying it, of it's just like, oh, like we're seeing behind the curtain because we're actually seeing all of this like through Haymitch. And so I thought that was really cool. Kind of like we get this some in Ballad, but it's not like as much. But that like getting to see like the like command center that the mentors are in and during the 10th Hunger Games, and getting to see like their behind the scenes and their squabbling over stuff and how that affects the game. Then kind of here getting to see that same thing of like the Capitol is having to like do all of this stuff just to keep things under control. And it's all like falling apart because they can't control this like they think they can, or that they present that they can.
Yeah, that's like exactly what I was thinking as well. Just that all the opulence is propaganda for the Capitol. Like this is necessary, but don't worry, it's beautiful and exciting and dramatic. So it's not like bad for you guys, but for the districts, it's an obvious show of like power and
Yeah.
threat. Like,
Mhm.
yes, we do have the money and the means to make things better for you, and we are actively not going to do that.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on the arena and the games of the 50th Hunger Games?
This
The
is probably
arena
my number
being
2.
Go for it. Go for it.
This is probably my number 2 behind Catching Fire for favorite arenas. That being said, of course, because District or the 10th Hunger Games is literally just a building, but so like we really only have 3 arenas to compare. But like, I think that this is cool. I loved the volcano reveal. To the point that like when we were discussing some stuff during a podcast, I was like, oh, I'm kind of sad that they showed that in the trailers, just because like that seems like such a fun reveal. And then obviously the fact that we get like the lava isn't actually going to kill everyone either, I think is a fun like, because like that's like such a catastrophic event of like, well, that's no fun if that wipes out all the remaining tributes. But I liked that we got to see that, and that was a fun gimmick. And then while it all is like super petty, the all of the like animals and stuff like that in this, I thought was a really interesting like. It felt like a dark inversion of like the Disney like princesses that call all the animals to them to help. It felt like the dark version of that, of like, hey, like your dad messed with us, squirrel attack. Like, and it was just like so brutal in that regard.
You just have a druid as a nemesis. Your
Yeah.
nemesis is an evil druid, and they're sending all of their animal friends to
Mm-hmm.
clobber you. Yeah. The other thing I'm right there with you, Cameron. One of the other things I thought was pretty interesting and cool about this arena is that it was shaped like an eye. Um, so the borders itself is that oval shape, and then you've got the woods on one side and the volcano on the other, with like the where the cornucopia and fields are in the center as a circle. So it really leans into that like we're always watching you, like
Mm-hmm.
not just in the sense that this thing is televised, but also like the capital is the government, and the government has all of these, you know, ways of gathering information and knowing things about you, kind of like what you're saying earlier, Cameron, about Snow.
Mm-hmm.
Like he only has a couple of weeks of being exposed to District 12, so to say. But to anyone who doesn't know that, the fact that he knows so much about the district is terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of your first instincts for being a part of this world is like, oh, you're just constantly like tapped into all of the districts, and like so the arena being shaped like an eye is very much like a much more like figuring that out, I think, played into the psychological side of things quite a bit. Um,
Yeah.
and then just the random hedge maze at the edge, just sort of being like, this is the edge of the arena, and we're going to make it impossible for you to get through, but then we're also going to give you a flamethrower, um, because things fall through the gaps. I love a good MacGuffin, so I'm not complaining. But I thought it was a fun arena overall. And I definitely would have liked to actually seen or read at least one chapter from someone's perspective who was on the volcano side. Because we get entirely the forest side and the field, and then we just hear about the volcano side secondhand. And I'm like, man, that would have been so cool. Like, it's like we're just hearing about it secondhand, and the lava doesn't actually like, it's not hot. It's just like a chemical. Like it would be cool to have a chapter from someone who actually experienced that to realize that kind of thing. So that's my one big gripe. Is like I would have loved to have a chapter from someone else's POV who was there to experience that rather than like hear it secondhand.
What you're saying reminded me. I fully think we're gonna get something of the eye in the movie, like because like since the movies don't follow just the perspective of the main character, I think we're gonna get something from like the announcers calling out the eye.
Oh, for sure.
And like the overt symbolism of that. I think we're gonna get some like direct stuff with that.
Yeah. It's such a huge, like, it's a symbol at face value from Suzanne Collins of just like, this is an eyeball. It is because we're watching you. Don't read too deep into it. It is literally what you think it is as a symbol. Yes, I do mean it as that.
It's the same as the clock when time is running out for the Capitol. Like,
yep.
Like, it is not deep, but it is fantastic.
Yep. The analogies may be shallow, but they run wide and they work.
I'm kind of like torn about this arena because we only get Haymitch's perspective, and it seemed like a lot of the dangerous stuff was like going on somewhere else. But then also like the water tries to kill him. It was butterflies, right?
Yeah.
Butterflies,
bunch of little
flowers,
tasers.
squirrels. Could have like
mosquito
everything
things,
in this
right?
arena
Yeah.
is trying to kill you.
Oh no, they were ladybugs. I was thinking of the ladybugs. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like randomness to this arena, or perceived randomness in that regard. Like Shanine, what you're saying, of just like is that like if the point of this is to be propaganda and entertaining to the Capitol, like is that entertaining? I feel like I would feel like I was robbed. Like if I was like, you know, one of those sickos that was like actually into this from the Capitol side, I'd be like, no, that was a tribute I liked, and they got killed by ladybugs. Like,
it does read a little bit into, at least in my head, what we were saying earlier about the Capitol still trying to figure out fully like the spectacle of it all. Like, again, like with the 10th, they were literally all just in a building and told to go after each other. Whereas like this, it does feel sloppy in a lot of ways, especially having seen how smoothly things like, you know, a lot of Katniss's years went from the Capitol's end. So it does sort of come off in a lot of ways as the Capitol still trying to figure out how to fully turn it into a spectacle for the Capitol citizens in a way of like, it's the whole concept of the Hunger Games has never been like in world. This is, you know, the only country, Panem, to have ever done anything like this because again, we don't know anything about it. Like so, it's the whole thing is just it does come off as them still trying to figure out how it's going to be a full-on spectacle for the Capitol citizens.
we have touched briefly a little bit on this, but to really dig into it, there are a lot of, I don't know, throw forwards to the Hunger Games series. Did you have a favorite connection or character or moment to the original Hunger Games series?
Love that Luella, I believe it is Katniss's aunt. I believe essentially is what she ends up being. They don't specifically say, but Luella is essentially somehow related to Katniss's dad. I think, yeah, I think that's right. I think she is his sister, which would make her Katniss's aunt, which I think is really cool and fun. Sad, but fun, of just having that connection. Of then that means that Haymitch watching her die, and then 25 years later, having the one person in the world who reminds him of Luella, then get put in, more heartbreaking. But that I thought was pretty cool. And then having, not PETA, there's a group of mentor people who then get put into the 75th. Wirus and
Mags
and a couple of Mags, and then what's the guy?
BT.
Having getting to see them as fully functional adults was pretty fun. So
I already talked a lot about Effie, so I won't speak more about her. That was to answer the question, Effie. But
yeah, we love Effie so much.
Yeah, to what Emma was just saying, it was seeing Wirus and Mags in specific, and getting to see them get put in that awkward position where they have to mentor a different district than their own. And then getting to see them in that situation, but then also getting to see them plant those early seeds of rebellion where Wirus is literally coming off of having won the previous Hunger Game. She is maybe a year older than them, tops. And I think she said that she's young, so she could even actually end up being younger than some of the other characters. And so I really liked getting to see that in specific, and getting to see those seeds begin to grow here, with them cutting power so that we can get all of that stuff, for them trying to succeeding and sneaking in the explosives and all of that, and figuring out all of these ways. Also, shout out to whoever has figured out that the Capitol should keep their "you can bring one trinket" thing in, because that is how every rule gets broken in this series. And if they would just actually eliminate that one rule, it would have solved
everything would
so
go in
many
their
problems.
favor.
But them constantly having this, so much goes wrong here directly because of the trinkets, and then they still allow them in future games. I just don't understand.
I mean, Haymitch is literally a Flint starter.
And I get that you would miss that the stars had been turned into explosive stuff, but it feels like y'all could have figured out that that's what the explosive stuff was after the fact. And y'all are still just good with people bringing stuff in. Okay. I like to think that was what's his face? Plutarch being no, we have to have these. We have to keep the trinkets, just because he's using them as ways of messing with the games.
Good for him, man. He's the most gray character in the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
He's still very much, I'm like, I don't truly know what your motives are. Like, you seem like you're on the right side of history, but also, I'm still getting a couple of red flags from you, dude. So,
I don't know, like the first, I don't know, quarter or third of the book was just me going like,
yeah.
and everything that I loved in this book were the things that drove me crazy in Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Like I just
Yeah.
couldn't handle it in that one. I was like, "Oh, another connection to Katniss, really?" And in this book, I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's Katniss's dad. It's Katniss's mom."
Yeah.
And when Effie showed up, I was just like shrieking because, like you, I did not make the connection that they would have like
Mm-hmm.
known each other from the beginning.
Yeah.
And, like, yeah, when the sister said her last name was Trinket, I was like, Trinket. And then, yeah, my
Like,
older sister,
Effie
Effie.
Trinket?
And I was like, Effie? And then she, like, actually showed up. And I was like,
Yeah.
ah,
Effie!
just love her. That was so exciting.
You
And
cannot
then,
go wrong with a good Effie Trinket appearance.
Mm-hmm.
right? And yeah, I saw how like Haymitch always called Luella sweetheart, and then there's like the quote of him calling Katniss sweetheart, and I was like, nope,
Yeah.
actually, nope, I don't like that. Um, but just like everything was so sad. Like every connection that Haymitch has with Katniss is
Mm-hmm.
so sad. Like
Mm-hmm.
his dad was her dad was his childhood best friend
Mm-hmm.
that he like pushed away, and then like he lost his dad in the mines, and then Katniss lost her dad and Haymitch's best friend in the mines, and then Haymitch has to mentor his childhood best friend's child, and I'm like, it's a lot and it's all sad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I for a lot of these books basically being the sitcom of District 12, I liked that a lot. Of like of I feel like maybe it's because like the whole book doesn't take place in District 12, so we kind of just get these peeks in. But like I really liked how in both of these books, or like both of these prequel books, we get so much like additional world building for District 12. And then like in this one, it's a lot more of those direct connections, which I think is really cool. Uh, but yeah, I think that it's again for someone who survives, the odds are not in Haymitch's favor, um, and
Nope.
yeah, super brutal.
All right, were there any other standout moments for you?
I loved that in the epilogue after Katniss, it's like after Katniss and Peeta have done the whole rebellion thing after the trilogy whatsoever. Um, Haymitch has a couple of they're geese, not peacocks.
Mm-hmm.
They're geese. Okay, he's gifted some geese that he takes very loving care of in honor of his beloved. And he's like so thoughtful about taking care of the geese, and it's just what he does essentially in his retirement is take care of these geese for his beloved. And it's so sad, but it's also like one of the sweetest things that he, like Suzanne Collins could have possibly had him do, because it's like he's been through so much and all of it's terrible, and then he just ends up like taking care of some geese because whatever her name is, that's what she did, and she
Lenore.
loved her geese. Lenore, thank you. Again, it's been a while since I read the book. Because Lenore loved her geese that she bonded to and raised, and then she got killed by President Snow. Spoilers. Um, and then Haymitch in his 50s just is like, okay, I'm gonna take care of these geese now because they remind me of Lenore, and that's all I really want to do. And it's heartbreaking and so sweet, and that's something that's it's just a tiny little detail, but it and I think Katniss gave them to
Mm-hmm.
Haymitch, which is even better. So
Yep.
that was something that stood out to me, and I'm like, just make me cry, why don't you? How dare you with this audacity to do something so sweet and gut wrenching like that?
Um, I standout moments. I really liked the reaping. Like again, that illusion of control, that idea of like what you see isn't what you should believe. Like us getting to see that the reaping is literally a lie. Like this is not what happened. Like the reaping like isn't supposed to be political, but like we kind of get some like, was Lucy Gray called because the like governor's daughter didn't like her? Like, and here we just like full on see you acted out. We're mad at you right now. Your name is the one that's getting called. After the other guy tried to run away. And then having to see them like literally cut things together, like getting to see the like literal reshoots of them doing stuff. I thought that was super interesting to see. Um, and I'm very excited to see that in the movie, just to see like the confusion that would come from being in the audience for something like that, where like this horrible event has gone mostly the same for 50 years at this point, and then like here is this one thing that kind of like shows the cracks. um so like that was a big one for me. And then the um when we get to see the behind the scenes for the arena, where we have like the water tank, we have the literal like capital people working, and then they get caught like by the tributes, and then we have the like edge of the world generator thing. Like all three of those I think are really cool, because they like, again, it shows the infallibility of like, someone really should have thought that if they figure out that this is where the holes are, they can get down into this area.
Yeah.
Or like things like that. Or even again, same thing as like the capital workers like showing up. Of like, you knew where the tributes were. Like, why are you this close in proximity to them?
You
And
didn't think
so,
that they wouldn't come for you?
yeah,
Like, if they saw you?
Yeah, I think going off of those two moments you just said, like with the filming and stuff in particular, like in this, like they have a delay before things are
mm-hmm.
actually broadcast and stuff. And I feel like in the original Hunger Games series, things were like a lot more live. Like
I
I feel
think they
like they
were.
had the opportunity to like get things broadcast to Panem that they the Capitol did not really want broadcast,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
which is odd because if they definitely got like a lot more control over a lot of aspects, and it's like, why would you
Mm-hmm.
have less control over the potentially most disruptive element?
Yeah. The thing of like even
Kind of
people
interesting.
complying is not like even if it's something just as simple as somebody like flipping the bird at the Capitol. Like why would you want to like have that live when like you could just have a delay?
Yeah, the three fingers salute thing.
Yeah.
But I just had this thought when you're saying that, Shanine, of like, I wonder if at some point in any future prequels or whatever, something like AI will be brought in as a concept that the Capitol figured out and like maybe was trying to play around with during Katniss's era of like maybe they thought they would have enough time to react and pull something like that out of their back pocket. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because that wasn't as big a deal or a thing when the original trilogy was written, so it wasn't really something to speak on.
Mm-hmm.
But like, it feels like something that Collins would have if
Mm-hmm.
it were as big a deal then as it is now. I don't know. Just amusing, just a ramble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on that note, I think a standout moment for me was the whole tribute parade carriage accident
Mm-hmm.
debacle. Um, especially with Haymitch carrying Luella to Snow and just accusing him. It's like, even though he knows that that's not going to get shown.
Still a bird to President Snow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Did you have any dislikes?
Okay.
I
Mine.
mean,
Oh, go ahead. I jumped in last time, so you go, Emma.
I was just gonna say, like, given that I've been reading a lot of like stuff that's much more vocabulary wise, like full on adult reading stuff, like this is very much written for the high school to young adult reading level.
Mm-hmm.
And so like I was just like, I want a little bit more out of this just in terms of like detail and like going into things, but I also can't fault it because it's the Hunger Games. So I kind of went in knowing it was that reading level. Um so like I feel like that was my biggest complaint was like I want a little bit more juicy info on things in general that are happening. Um but it is geared towards a younger, not super young, but like a high school to young adult age group, so I can't blame them too much. Um, at the same time, it did feel a little bit rushed to me, but that's just my opinion. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
And I'm looking for them for a future question. That's why I'm looking down. So dislikes for me. I did not like that we didn't get more like future stuff for this. Like with one of the things I really liked about Ballad is that like roughly the last third of the book is after the Hunger Games. And we get like a good amount of time with like Snow having to go to 12, being a peacekeeper, like, and then of course we get more Lucy Gray through that, which like also works out great. Everything was fine. Everything was perfect. No problems in that section of the book. And so I guess, just assumed that we would get something like that in this one. And so I think that it was just like an issue there with expectations. And so the fact that the epilogue in this book is like 2 pages, just like, I mean, of course, like the epilogue is a trilogy of books, but like, but yeah, that we don't get to see more from Haymitch's perspective. Like, I would have loved if like the last 5 chapters are like him during the 73rd Hunger Games working on stuff, him during the 74th Hunger Games. Is Katniss the one that we can finally all get behind? Like, and then like him during the other books, then like an actual like formal epilogue from like Haymitch's perspective. I really was hoping that we would get something more like that. And I don't think it's a problem that we didn't, but I disliked it because I had built up my hopes for that thing.
The thing I find funny, my copy of this book had the first chapter of the Hunger Games at the end of it as like a sneak peek. And I'm like, okay, a sneak peek at the Hunger Games, a book I've read several times over the course of my life.
Me. I don't know. For me, it's been my complaint with both of the prequels is I just like don't have as much of an emotional connection to what's going on. Like, I felt really invested in this one in like the first bit where it was all like the throwback characters and like connections to stuff that we know. Then once it got like into the arena and stuff, I like stopped caring as much. And I don't know, I just wasn't like as invested. So I feel like it started really high for me, but just it didn't end really high for me. And then another complaint that I've had in both of the prequels is I never can buy into the romances with the Covey girls. Is they just feel like they're very well written, but because of that, they come across so free spirited and like, I don't know, ethereal almost. And it's like, I don't believe that they're in love with these like boys at all.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't understand the relationship between them, but so that one was tough for me. But
yeah, I'll say this one didn't bother me as much as Lucy Gray, because like that one just feels so like enemies to lovers of like whereas for this one, and maybe it's because in this one they're like already dating when the book starts, and so it's not like I was worried something was going to happen between Haymitch and Maisley in the arena, and that was then going to lead to sitcom drama or soap opera drama when we got back to District 12. But yeah, I'm kind of there with you. It is weird, right, that of both of the female love interests that we've had, they're both Covey. Like,
yeah. I'm neutral on the love interest stuff for this series. Well, for the prequels. I have my thoughts and opinions about the trilogy, but I won't get into that.
All right. Were there any themes that spoke to you as you were reading this?
The government is not always a good thing. Period. End of sentence. Not all of us are with the government.
This is what I was looking for, and it's a more of a longer quote. The back of my book had an interview with Suzanne Collins, and so it's really cool. I really liked the interview, but there was a conversation. It kind of ties into what I've been saying throughout, of this idea of the revolution doesn't happen because Katniss is there. The revolution happens because there is this group of people that have been working for literal decades.
Yeah.
And we only get to see a small part of that in this book. We don't see anything to do with what District 13 is up to. We don't really see any of the other revolutions and revolts that have been going on. And I really like that theme of while change can be change can feel like it comes out of nowhere. The vast majority of time, change comes because there are people that have been trying hard for a long time to make the world better. And I really liked that as a theme that we get to see more of here than we do in the other books. And then other end of the spectrum, man, never eat candy if you're in a totalitarian regime. That was a theme I took away. Candy equals bad. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
It's bad for your health. It's bad for your teeth. It's bad for your state of existence to even be alive. Just don't do it.
Just don't eat the candy.
It's the classic. Technically. It's the classic. Don't take candy from a stranger.
Mm-hmm.
Or candy that's
the
just
tributes
sitting
are
on
Hansel
a rock.
and Gretel confirmed.
Yeah.
I don't think there was anything new that stood out to me that has not been discussed in all of the Hunger Games novels, but just reiterating again how dangerous the abuse of power is.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Was there anything else that stood out to you from the novel, or any quotes that you'd like to share?
Are we skipping over number 13?
Nope, we're doing number 12.
Oh. I skipped to number 14. JK. Because I have thoughts about number 13. But, no, I'm just very happy and content to be getting new Hunger Games content. I love my new Hunger Games content.
There's the super sad quote of I know that every year for my birthday I will get a pair of new tributes, one boy and one girl, to mentor to their deaths another sunrise on the reaping. And it's oh, it's so brutal. Of because I don't think we knew that Haymitch's birthday was on Reaping Day until this book. I don't think that came up in the trilogy, but also I haven't read them in a decade at this point. So but I thought that was another very just brutal way of yeah, of course in this world people's birthdays are going to be on reaping day, and there's going to be this. They're going to have this really like understandably like awkward and heartbreaking connection with their birthday. And yeah, that one got me. And then not necessarily a direct quote, but I really liked the conversations around like the poster of like, don't give them like something that they can put on the poster. Don't give them like make sure you control how you are represented. Is kind of, I mean, this ties in with the last question of a theme, but like I really liked the quotes around that throughout this.
Mm-hmm. All right, on to number 13. Sunrise on the Reaping movie comes out November 20th, 2026, and we've been getting a lot of casting announcements.
Elle
Thoughts?
Fanning as Effie is amazing, and I'm so excited. And also, I just want to point out, this movie has an insane casting budget. Like, we've got Kieran Culkin, Elle Fanning. Like, we've got all of these wildly like great actors in these positions. Like, it is my humble opinion that they're both nailing the casting and also like, where are they getting their money from? I am mildly concerned because they've got some great people, which means that they're spending a lot of money.
Yeah.
I am so excited.
I'm hyped
And
for
they also,
Maya Hawke.
Yeah.
Like getting her as Wiress. Like I am super excited for that casting because like Maya feels like the person that would win a Hunger Games like Wiress does. Like I am not competing, but I am like smart enough to break your system. And so like that just feels like such a good casting, and I'm so excited to see her in this role.
Yeah. And Joseph Zada, who they got for Haymitch, is a relative unknown. He's like got like 4 other official things under his name, but just in terms of looks, he seems like a solid casting choice. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited. I'm hoping he does not let us down. But they've got great big names attached, and I'm excited to see where this goes. Oh yeah, the guy who plays Snow is Voldemort. I forgot that. We've got Voldemort as Snow. Ralph Fiennes?
Rafe
Fiennes?
Fiennes.
Thank you. Like, imagine having not 1 but 2 young adult book villains under your belt as an actor. Like, horrifying and also good for him, man.
For some reason, when you said Voldemort, I pictured Lucius Malfoy, and I'm like, I don't think that was who was cast.
No.
And like, it definitely wasn't, because I am just making random connections. But like, I like confused myself so much there, and I had to like go back and look, and I was like, what? I just like threw myself for a complete loop there.
No. But I have a lot of hope for this movie, just with the cast that they've got announced so far. It's a solid, quite strong mix of well-known actors and relative unknowns, and relative unknowns being in some of the more lead positions, which I have found and noticed within the world of Hollywood movies like this. casting a relative unknown means the movie's going to be better. So I am excited, and I have nothing but faith right now. My opinion will probably change once we get a trailer, but that always happens.
I think the casting has been wild. Like every new announcement, I'm like, oh my gosh, no way. Like
Yeah.
it feels like a fan cast
Yeah. It's
for real. And like
Elle
I don't
Fanning as Effie. Like I was getting a lot of fan casts of her as Effie on TikTok, like before she was announced. And like so many. And then she was announced and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is fabulous."
I don't know how they managed to get everyone like looking like their future characters, and like yeah, it's been wild. And I've seen people commenting as well about having the two different young actresses for Luella and Lulu. So I think a lot of people were expecting it, myself included, just to be played by the same actress.
Mm-hmm.
But it is two different people, just to emphasize that, like, yeah, the Capitol's subbing in people for completely other people, and they don't care. But also, they look so similar as
They
well
look
that, like, they could
it's
conceivably be like,
it's eerily similar. Like eerily so.
Yeah.
all right. Any final thoughts on Sunrise on the Reaping?
I loved it and I was pleased, and um I went into it expecting to be disappointed because general prequels and things are disappointing. But I should have known better. Um, it's I was very pleased. So yeah.
Yeah. As I said at the top, I always forget how big of a fan I am of like Colin's work here, and I think it's so like just because it's not something that we get peppered with in media. She just kind of rolls up every like 5 to 10 years and is like, "Hey, here's another book. They're making a movie. You're gonna like it. I got things to say."
Hey,
Um,
hey, I've got a thing for you.
and I
Bye.
yeah, and I was so happy that we were back in this because I definitely had that feel of like, is this gonna hit or is this gonna feel like fan service? And I am so glad that it hit. Like, highly recommend this book to people. I know, like, I was talking to people at work about it while I was reading it and telling them about like not spoilers, but telling them about like my progress through the book and stuff like that. Like, I'm very excited, and I hope that we, in another 5 to 7 years, get another Hunger Games book, and Collins rolls up with some more stuff to say. So I'm very excited for more.
Yeah. Ultimately, it is more great Hunger Games content. Um, our next book club book is TBD. It will be on June 30th. If you happen to have any recommendations on what you'd like to see us read and talk about, you can come chat at us in our Discord server. Um, but yeah, other than that, we will figure out something.
Shrug. We'll get something done. And so, um, and then as another announcement, next week, come join Emma and I for our Last of Us season 2 spoiler cast. And so that ended yesterday. I literally watched the episode between that, like 2 hours I was home and us starting podcast. And so,
Yep.
so yeah, come back and join us next week for that. And then the following week for Doctor Who spoiler cast for that season as well. I am an episode behind.
Gonna be good. Gonna be great.
Thank you for joining us for our Sunrise on the Reaping chat. We are First Geek 411 on all the social medias. Join our Discord server or shoot us an email at 1stgeek411@gmail.com. Check out our Redbubble store, watch live on our Twitch, and find all our videos over on YouTube. I am Hoot and Owl Tales, TALES, on Instagram.
I am not prepared with an eye in the prepared on all platforms.
And I'm Humar Whittle.
Read a book.
Go outside.
Don't eat the gumdrops.